USAID Director Samantha Powell is on official visit to Ethiopia. This is indeed an excellent opportunity for her to verify the phrase from reality and the truth from mendacious propaganda that has been widely circulated by TPLF terrorist group regarding the general situation in Tigray and the challenges that the Ethiopian government is facing due to the inhuman blockade of smooth transportation of food by TPLF terrorist gangs and its appalling recruitment of child soldiers and their mothers by force. Her visit is expected to be based on a clear and balanced understanding of the reality in Tigray and in Ethiopia as a whole. Forthcoming consultations are to be made on understanding that efforts underway by the government of Ethiopia to facilitate transport of food aid that was subsequently obstructed by TPLF terrorist group should be facilitated. Her discussions with pertinent Ethiopian officials cannot be based on exerting unnecessary pressure on the government through any level of diktat, but on amicable considerations of the responsibilities that the Ethiopian government is shouldering. Despite the fact that Ethiopia was regularly reporting on the atrocities of the TPLF terrorist group in denying food aid to the people of Tigray over the last 3 weeks, the international community, including the United Nations systems and USAID in particular, chose to keep silent when the people of Tigray are suffering from lack of food aid. Ever since the declaration of the unilateral ceasefire in which the government of Ethiopia stopped any military intervention in Tigray, the government has been cooperating with the World Food Programme in allowing humanitarian organizations transport food to Mekelle. Rejecting the goodwill gesture of the government, TPLF terrorists embarked on a new wave of war on Afar and Amhara region states to choke the transport network of the country, including the road transport from Djibouti to Mekelle. In gross violations of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child and other humanitarian laws related to the protection of children's rights, TPLF terrorists forcibly deployed school children and minors to the battlefront, using them as a cannon fodder. Before it pulled out of the national defense from Tigray, the Ethiopian government has left aside 400 quintals of wheat and more than 2.5 million liters of edible oil, powder milk, and nutritious biscuits in Tigray. To ensure that the farmers could be able to till their land during the rainy season, the Ethiopian government has also deployed 800,000 quintals of fertilizers so that the farmers will not miss the farming season. However, TPLF terrorists and the Western media have continued to falsely blame the government for using food aid as a weapon against the people of Tigray and for all the predicaments in the region. The international partners with whom the government of Ethiopia has been conducting relief operations in Tigray, including World Food Programme, World Vision, Care International, Food for the Hungry, and a local NGO, the Relief Society of Tigray, are well aware of the huge efforts that were exerted by the government with full commitment to its obligations to needy citizens. By and large, the terrorist TPLF group was transporting the remains of its forces, which included children and older mothers, to prepare a drama of attempting to depict the situation as a genocide that is conducted by the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, who were abiding to the unilateral ceasefire that was declared by the government. The terrorist TPLF has already prepared and continued to prepare doctored pictures and videos to misguide and misinform the international community on the situation. Here, it is indeed unexpectedly alarming to observe the silence and nonchalance of the international community when terrorist TPLF has continued to conduct war crimes against Ethiopian citizens in Tigray. Despite the fact that the government of Ethiopia has continued to inform the international community the objectives of the unilateral ceasefire and efforts underway to enable the population in Tigray to have access to food, the Western powers failed to understand the good intention of the government. They even joined the terrorist group and their allies in the international media outlets to fabricate unfounded and speculative information on the reality in Tigray. They were dead silent on the plight of the Eritrean refugees when more than 6 of them were cold-bloodedly murdered by TPLF terrorist militia. However, in spite of the open facts that the terrorist groups have long started to block food aid to Tigray, the UN agencies continued to falsely blame the Ethiopian government with no evidence except for the false information that TPLF terrorists and their allies have continued to fabricate and distribute. While obstructing the normal flow of food aid from Djibouti through Afar region to Tigray, the terrorist group demands for opening of a humanitarian corridor through the border with Sudan, which is categorically rejected by the Ethiopian government. Although the world is now aware of the fact that terrorist TPLF has committed crimes against humanity by massacring innocent citizens in Maikadra, Humera, and various areas of Amhara region, the most reputed international organizations and some world powers have chosen to blame only the Ethiopian government with no care for the verification of the truth. Ethiopia has been conducting food relief operation in Tigray by covering 70% of relief supplies, while the rest was covered by World Food Programme and the international humanitarian organizations operating in Tigray. Ethiopia welcomes the visit by the USAID director, hoping that she will have the chance to clearly know what is on the ground instead of shifting the blame on the Ethiopians from distance. On the other hand, the discussions should be conducted with Ethiopian officials is expected to be respectful, courteous, and with due respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ethiopia. On the other hand, the Ethiopian government has made it clear that there will be no dialogue, negotiations of any kind or discussions with the terrorist group which is working on dismantling the unity of the peoples of Ethiopia. The Ethiopian government has all the capability to enforce law and order as it is own internal duties with no need from external pressure for any corner. Interfering into the internal affairs of Ethiopia is not only a violation of the sovereignty of the country, but is also a violation of international law and a threat to peace in the African region. It is important to know that issues related to the citizens in Tigray is in the prerogatives of the Ethiopian government. The peoples and governments of Ethiopia are aware and will continue to support and work for peace and stability in the country and also for relief food supplies for the Tigray region.